Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up tonight, is the Parliamentary Registration Department ready for the upcoming election? This as voter registration skyrockets, and why the health minister says a recent spike in cases wasn't surprising. Welcome to our news, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, National Security Minister Marvin Dames declaring that the Parliamentary Registration Department will be ready when the election is called. This after the department faced criticism on Monday over the registration process, which was chaotic at times and marred by long delays. Jasmine Brown reports.
The National Security Minister told reporters that not only is he confident that the Parliamentary Registration Department can handle an influx of people looking to register, he says they're now ready to handle an election.
Whenever the Prime Minister decides to call the election, you can expect that the Parliamentary Registration Department will be ready.
On Monday, scores of residents flooded various registration sites amid widespread speculation of an early election. The minister said the increase was likely the result of pronouncements made in recent days. On Sunday, opposition leader Philip Brave Davis urged new voters to register, adding that all indications are that the bell will be rung this week.
This is the season that we're in. Only one person knows that date. And until we hear from that person, I think that we should all be calm and relaxed and not give in to individuals panicking, members of the public.
Dames said the Parliamentary Registration Department extended its hours on Monday to accommodate the swell of people.
Yesterday was they were inundated. There was some premature pronouncements made the day before. I believe that was responsible for triggering these large number of persons, and so they had to adjust.
Until then, Dames says the Parliamentary Registration Department will continue to make the necessary preparations. He adds that one thing he doesn't want is a repeat of what happened at the 2017 advanced polls.
In 2017, we had in excess of 3,000 persons participating in an advanced poll, but due to the amendments in the Act, where we have senior citizens participating as well, we can expect to see anywhere close to 40,000. And so you look at the comparisons.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
The Ministry of Health reporting 81 new COVID-19 cases. According to the latest numbers released this evening, 55 people tested positive on New Providence, 19 on Grand Bahama, 4 on Bimini and Cat Key, 2 on Abaco, and 1 on Long Island. Health officials were not surprised by the uptick in COVID-19 cases, according to Health Minister Renward Wells, who pointed to gatherings held over the Independence holiday weekend as a possible cause for the rise in cases. Jillian Gray reports.
Health officials were not surprised by the uptick in COVID-19 cases, according to Health Minister Renward Wells, who pointed to gatherings held over the Independence holiday weekend as a possible cause for the rise in cases.
Usually there's a little uptake in cases about 7-8 days, 5 to 7, 8, 14 days out from any sort of major holiday. We've just come through the entire weekend of Independence, and so folks would have gotten together in groups on beaches, in their homes, celebrating our independence. And obviously, we would have expected, given the fact that we have had positive cases in the country, that there would have been an uptick.
Wells says in the coming weeks, they'll be assessing the data to see if there are any defined clusters. Hundreds of voters have rushed to registration centers in recent days, but Wells says once they follow health protocols, he's not concerned about those crowds. The state of emergency is set to end on August 13th. The health minister says while many of the restrictions will fall away, the travel protocols may remain.
The United States has moved beyond certain restrictions, no mask mandate and other restrictions inside of the United States, but they have kept the test for entrance into their country. So we're going to have to look at it. We're going to have to assess it. And obviously we will take the recommendation of our health team into consideration in deciding whether or not we actually keep the requirements of having to have an RT-PCR test to come into the Bahamas.
In the meantime, he said there are no plans for tighter restrictions.
We move basically on the recommendation of our health team. I do not believe that there's any recommendation from them. We have our emergency meetings on Wednesday.
Now, the health minister is continuing to encourage Bahamians to get vaccinated, as he says that's the only way we're going to get out of the pandemic. Now, vaccines in the country are running low, but he says they're expecting their tranche of the Pfizer vaccine in August. He's hoping early August. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Meanwhile, daily voter registration numbers skyrocketed yesterday compared to just a week ago as Bahamians rushed to registration centers ahead of the dissolution of Parliament. It prompted officials to make some adjustments. Kyle Joaquin reports.
We're here outside Cable Beach Post Office, which is another registration site, and if you take a look behind me, the line is much shorter than it was yesterday. We spoke to Acting Parliamentary Commissioner Lavardo Duncanson, who said they had to make several adjustments after yesterday.
We've sought to reassign some resources so that we can better serve persons as they present themselves for registration.
After a hectic Monday evening that saw some people wait for hours to register to vote, the Acting Parliamentary Commissioner says things are running much smoother. Following speculation by the opposition leader and House Speaker that Parliament could be dissolved on Tuesday, eager voters flocked to get registered, causing a 10-time jump in registration numbers for New Providence from 30 on one day just the week before to 348 on Monday. And Duncanson said some of those people lined up didn't have to be there. At the Parliamentary Registration Office on Farrington Road, the line was not as bad as it was the day before, but still a bit of a wait.
It doesn't make sense, the hullabaloo and the bunch of hoopla and the hula hoops they want you to run through. I don't think it's a necessary evil.
The system is moving swiftly. I don't see a problem.
Over at Cable Beach Post Office the night before, some waited for hours as they watched it take up to 45 minutes for one person to be registered. And today,
it's terrible. They could have put a canopy or they could have a senior citizens line. And we moved from there to here. Still about 10 people ahead of me.
John Saunders said he was prepared to wait however long it took.
They want to have some flags on it, you know, and they can let me know exactly where I may went wrong with it. So that's why I'm be sure that I'm prepared, because when time for the bell to ring, I don't want to be the one to go on the side and not to put down my vote.
Inside wasn't so bad, just outside waiting and the sun was a little bit daunting, but inside they've got their act together. It's been pretty good.
Over 191,000 Bahamians are registered to vote, with the largest age bracket being those between the ages of 41 to 50, followed by 51 to 60-year-olds. Those between 31 and 40 years old make up the next biggest bracket, with nearly 32,000 registered. Monday's chaos raised concerns about just how prepared the department is for the advance poll, which was disastrous in 2017. Duncanson revealed to Our News that there will now be multiple advance polling stations with more personnel and resources.
We are taking steps towards ensuring that there are multiple locations both on the island of New Providence and Grand Bahama, as well as overseas voting is still scheduled to take place.
If you have your purple voter's card and did not relocate over the past 3 months, you do not need to register. If your voter's card is lost and you've moved, you will need a police report and proof of your new address. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Thanks, Kyle. Well, chaos erupted at voter registration centers last evening as some Bahamians waited up to 8 hours to register a new address or name change as rumors of an early election put everyone on edge.
At this hour, from 1:30, some people have been here from 11 and stuff like that. This should not be happening. And they should not be able to say to us, we should leave now. That is unacceptable.
Shortly after 8:30 p.m. Monday, dozens of people were still waiting to register to vote at the Cable Beach Post Office as the process seemed to come to a standstill.
The line is not moving. It's not moving at all.
Wait times and lines grew longer as the day went on, with some saying it would be now or never after waiting hours.
When I came in today, I said, my motto is all these people out here, and it's been about 2 hours. So
far.
Horrible, absolutely horrible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are some people who have been here from 1 o'clock, some been here from 12 o'clock. One lady just left, like literally just left.
I think that I'm just going to be here until they let me in. I have to exercise my right to vote.
Right.
And I will try my best not to let the long line and the long wait deter me from doing that.
The process was discouraging for many, including first-time voters, who say they never imagined this would be their first taste of election season.
This will be my first time. I kind of don't want to do it again, but I still want to exercise my rights.
Frankly, I was even worried about registering because I thought, okay, next year I have so much time, but you know, the rumors came out, so that's why everyone's out here right now.
There was a mad scramble at registration centers up to 10 p.m. Monday, when the Parliamentary Registration Department on Farrington Road took in the last registrants of the day. Our news spoke to one officer at the headquarters who estimated she alone had registered or made changes for more than 300 voters on Monday. The voter register closes the day before Parliament is dissolved. That timeline, however, is still up in the air. Recent events leaving many wondering if it's time for a fixed election date.
Things like that? I think it's necessary now. Even during a pandemic, you shouldn't have 100 people kind of stuck together all waiting to vote. Think about the people inside and how much personal contact they've had. There has to be a better way.
At the end of the day, it's just about an efficient process. I mean, it's the parliamentary registry. I mean, they have 4 years, 5 years, whatever the time is to get this process right. So whether it's fixed election date or not, if the process isn't right, you can still have the same problem.
Well, partly cloudy skies in the capital. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the latest.
Thanks, Christina. Welcome, everybody, for your first look at weather. Beautiful day around the islands. Temperature-wise, it was very warm. We got those temperatures into the 90s and your feels-like temperature in the triple digits. We're settling into the low 80s, 81 passing clouds. We'll call it warm still. Temperatures going to be rather nice for the evening. Southeast winds at 5 knots and your feels-like temperature still in the mid to upper 80s. As I mentioned, beautiful around the islands today. That high-pressure ridge remains in charge. Some spotty showers and isolated thunderstorms over the big islands, but all in all, it's going to clear up rather nicely for the rest of the evening. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, how a COVID outbreak at the passport office could affect applications this summer. Plus, the health minister hits back at the House Speaker over the constituency's commission report. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
An outbreak of COVID-19 cases at the passport office has prompted officials to look for alternative sites to drop off documents and pick up passports. Minister of Foreign Affairs Darren Henfield says those plans are being finalized.
Unfortunately, one of our staff members passed. We believe it's due to the pandemic. 4 others have been infected, and several others have been contact traced and are now in quarantine. And so we're looking at alternative sites.
Marathon Mall is a potential site. Henfield says the busy summer period has been compounded by the pent-up demand brought on by COVID restrictions over the last 16 months.
The passport office presents for us somewhat of a challenge in that coming out of this COVID environment where we had some relaxation in the way that people who are fully vaccinated want to travel, there seemed to have been some pent-up frustrations that kind of overwhelmed our collection area, where we had gatherings that were not workable in the climate that we're in with COVID, and so we had somewhat of an outbreak.
In other news, Leader of Government Business in the House of Assembly, Renward Wells, is hitting back at the House Speaker, Halson Moultrie, who accused constituency committee members of frustrating the process. The Speaker submitted the commission report with just Moultrie's signature. Wells says the other members are moving forward with their letter to the Governor General to reject that report.
The committee members are moving forward, and we will continue to move forward. We will present to the Governor General the views of our commissioners, and that will be it.
When asked if commission members will submit a different report, Wells simply said, "Stay tuned." Meanwhile, voters in the nation's second city also enduring long lines in the heat to register and to update their voters' cards. According to Assistant Parliamentary Commissioner in Grand Bahama, Denise Pinder, over 500 people turned out in a single day. Giorgio Bain has that.
According to Assistant Parliamentary Commissioner Denise Pinder, there seemed to be a sense of panic on the island, especially among those who had been affected by Hurricane Dorian, who had yet to have their voters' cards replaced.
Many of the persons were young persons registering for the first time. A number of persons needed transfers from one location to another, and there were a number of persons who also needed to have their cards replaced. Those were primarily a lot of persons affected by Dorian.
More than 500 persons turned out to register to vote on Grand Bahama on Monday, forcing many of the registration offices to extend their hours.
Yesterday, we were extremely busy at all of our centers. Everyone reported very long lines.
Ray Wiley was patiently waiting his turn in line. He said once he got wind of a possible snap election, he prepared himself for the long lines.
They say it is, so I'm not taking a chance in case it isn't.
Nelson Stewart voiced his frustration with the uncertainty of the election date.
I don't think it's time. They should give us more time. You just can't rush things on people because a lot of people are being transferred from one island to the next, relocated in different areas, but I don't understand what they're doing, but I just come to find out what's going on before I decide to make a decision, and I can't vote in my area.
Despite waiting in line, Stewart is not optimistic about the next general election, as he doesn't see things changing for Grand Bahama regardless of who wins.
They always put Grand Bahama for the last, man. They always say this and say that about Grand Bahama. Election time, they run the Grand Bahama like they doing us a favor. They ain't doing us no favor.
Reporting for R News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
When our news returns, why the DNA leader says the PM is disrespecting his colleagues. Plus, Cable Bahamas teaming up with NEMA. Find out more after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is our news. Welcome back. With all the talk of a possible early election, leader of the Democratic National Alliance, Arinthia Komalafe, says the Prime Minister has shown disrespect to his political colleagues by keeping everyone in the dark about the next general election.
It just shows a blatant disrespect and disregard for his colleagues, those of us that are in the political arena, who need to plan, who need to get our budgets together, who need to get our people together in order to be able to be mobilized for the next general election.
Komalafe tells our news that despite the suspense, the party is ready for what it anticipates will be an historic election for the DNA.
It really does not matter whether the Prime Minister calls the election today or in another 3 months or 6 months. The Bahamian people are ready to shift this administration out of office.
Boykin Smith, who was set to represent the DNA in Garden Hills, stepped down from the party last week after an alleged physical altercation with Komalafe. The party leader says a replacement has been identified, and she's confident the party is putting forward the best possible candidates. In other news, the Cable Bahamas group of companies and the National Emergency Management Agency announcing a new partnership today. Cable donating $5,000 and 6 push-to-talk devices to NEMA, which officials say will come in handy this hurricane season. Cable Bahamas CEO Franklin Butler says REV will support NEMA in any way it can.
We know that being a good corporate citizen is often about putting your money where your heart is. And that is exactly what we seek to do today. To this end, we are ensuring that our support of NEMA is not just in sentiment, but in tangible, meaningful ways. And hence, our donation of both cash and in-kind equipment of a value of more than $5,000 we wish to extend to NEMA today.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Disaster Preparedness, Carl Smith, says the donation will help community emergency response training. He stressed the importance of effective communication during a disaster.
Correct and efficient communication can, one, prevent the occurrence of a disaster or reduce its impact. Two, reduce vital delays in the aftermath. And three, in general, it can decide the success of the disaster management efforts as a whole.
Meanwhile, search and rescue efforts still underway for Drew Rigby, according to Royal Bahamas Defense Force Commodore Raymond King. The 28-year-old went missing over a week ago after the jet ski he was a passenger on collided with a 26-foot boat. King says since then, Marines have exhausted more than 100 hours of searching, but are still holding on hope despite a grim reality.
Probability of survival for an individual without a life vest, given the conditions that they face whenever that incident would have occurred, is very, very low. And we've searched in excess of 1 week, 100 plus hours, using almost 8 to 10 search and rescue units. We haven't given up hope, the family hasn't given up hope, but at some point that is the most difficult decision for a commander to make.
The driver of the jet ski sustained injuries to both legs but was wearing a life vest and was rescued. The Defense Force came under heavy criticism with some questioning search efforts. King explained the force's ability to search underwater even at night.
That will be contingent on the area of the search, okay? Because larger vessels require deeper water to operate in, and so you wouldn't put or place that vessel at stake or for some grounding or some incident to occur. So it depends on the platform being used, the capacity and equipment and capabilities on that vessel, the area, in addition to the weather conditions.
Plans underway for a Grand Bahama Community Park. The details after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. A few hot days ahead. Greg is back in the Weather Center with the details.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for your second look at weather. We have some Saharan dust moving across our area that's going to keep temperatures feeling rather toasty for the next couple of days as that high-pressure ridge remains in charge. That's going to be affecting that Saharan dust across our area. Upper level trough to the south of Cuba spinning, generating a couple isolated showers across the northern Bahamas, but things will be rather quiet over the next couple of days. The tropics, rather quiet. We have a couple of tropical waves out there, but because of the Saharan dust, it's going to remain rather quiet. Boating forecast, if you plan on doing that tonight through tomorrow for the northwest and central islands, southeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Caution flag posted for the southeast Bahamas, east to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, seas running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Tide is going to be low just before midnight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Sunday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Harcourt Development and the government in talks to lease 2 acres of garden space in central Grand Bahama for a community park. Minister of State for Grand Bahama, Kwesi Thompson, says the lease agreement is being finalized, paving the way for an official contract signing.
We all approached the Harcourt, who are the owners of the entire property, and we were successful in getting Harcourt to agree to lease a portion of the property, and they are going to lease a portion of the property, I believe, for $10, and it is for obviously a nominal amount, and so it is leasing it really at no cost to the government.
Harcourt Development Representative Rudy Meadows encouraged residents to enjoy the open spaces of the park.
Take advantage of it. You know, we love to see people rather than bush. So more people come out, and the vendors, please take advantage of it and bring your wares out and sell it. And the public who's not here now, please come out and support them. They need all the support they can get. The sun is hot, they're working hard. Give them a break.
So I want to say on behalf of the Grand Bahama Island Birders, Minister Lewis, we can now access that park wherever we want to go and see all the birds that we want to see. Blessings on you and much success with this project.
Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.